In this lecture, we'll learn the definition and characteristics of angiosperms, classification, reproductive cycle, adaptations, economic importance, ecological role, and conservation of angiosperms. We have seen this chart several times before, and we understand that kingdom Plantae is divided based on the presence of seeds or absence of seeds in different plants. Among the seed-bearing plants, we have already studied gymnosperms, and now we'll be studying angiosperms that not only have seeds but also have flowers and fruits. So angiosperms are the flowering plants that produce seeds which are enclosed in the fruits. These are the most diverse plants in the kingdom Plantae, with over 300,000 species and making up to 80% of green plants. The unique features of these plants are they have flowers which are used for attracting pollinators like insects. They have enclosed seeds which are present inside a fruit, and they have double fertilization in which two sperms fertilize with the female organ. One fertilizes with the egg and the other one forms the endosperms, which is the nutritive material in a seed. If we talk about the evolution of angiosperms, they are believed to evolve about 140 million years ago in early Cretaceous. They have rapidly diversified and quickly spread into several different habitats. Through the process of evolution, they have developed traits which have helped them attract pollinators and has ensured their more success over other kinds of plants. They can thrive in diverse environmental conditions. They have been able to outcompete gymnosperms and ferns. Their characteristic features are the presence of flowers and fruits, and there are several evidences of angiosperms found in the form of fossils. The distinguishing features of angiosperms includes the presence of flowers. These flowers are specialized reproductive structures which attract pollinators such as insects. The seeds in angiosperms are enclosed in fruits. The seeds develop in the ovary, which eventually become fruit. Angiosperms have double fertilization, which is unique to this group, and we'll talk about that later. They have broad leaf diversity. They have leaves of different shapes and venation and sizes. They have well-developed vascular system with advanced xylem and phloem for the transportation of water and nutrients. They have a very short reproductive cycle, which enhances their adaptability because they do not have to make a lot of effort in protecting the structure that produces gametes. Angiosperms are broadly classified as monocots and dicots. In monocots, there is only one cotyledon inside their seed, and in dicots, there are two cotyledons. The root system of monocots is fibrous, while that of dicots is a taproot system. In monocots, the vasculature is present in a scattered manner, like all over the place, whereas in dicots, it is arranged in rings. The leaves of monocots have parallel venation, whereas in dicots they are branched. And the floral parts of monocots are present in the arrangement of threes, and in dicots they are present in the arrangement of fours or fives. Let's look at the anatomy of an angiosperm flower. Angiosperm flowers have outer green leafy structures called sepals, and the whole set of sepals is called calyx. Then they have brightly colored petals, and the whole whorl of petals is called corolla. Then they have male structure called stamen. The stamen has mainly two parts: anther that produces pollen and filament that supports the anther. Then they have the female part called the pistil or carpel. The carpel has three main parts: stigma, style, and ovary. Stigma is the top sticky part where pollen comes and gets stuck. Style is the tube present between the stigma and ovary contains ovule which develop into the fruit after fertilization. Ovules are located inside the ovary and they develop into seeds after fertilization. Here is the more zoomed in view of male and female parts of the plant. You can see here is the female part with stigma, style, ovary, and inside the ovary there are ovules. And in the male part you have anther and filament. The male part is also called androecium and female part is also called gynoecium. Now, pollination is the transfer of pollen from the anther to stigma of the female part of the flower. Flowers can undergo two kinds of pollination: self-pollination, in which the pollen lands on its own stigma or the flower of the same plant, and cross-pollination is when the pollen is transferred to the different plant, which enhances the genetic diversity. There are different agents that contribute to this pollination process: biotic or living factors such as insects, birds, animals, and abiotic factors which are non-living factors such as wind or water. Now, plants have undergone several adaptations for this pollination process. For example, they have brightly colored petals, scents, and nectar to attract insects or birds, and they have lightweight pollen for wind or water dispersal of pollens. Now let's look at double fertilization, which is a very unique process in angiosperms, where two kinds of fertilization events occur in one reproductive cycle. After pollination, when the pollen has been dropped on the stigma of the female part, a pollen tube is formed all the way down the style and that eventually enters the ovary. One pollen tube releases two sperms into the ovules. Fertilization 1 is the fertilization of one sperm with the egg. This leads to the formation of diploid zygote that ends up becoming the embryo. In second fertilization, the second sperm fuses with the two polar nuclei of the ovule that forms a triploid structure called endosperm. This endosperm is the nutrient source for the developing embryo. This is a very significant process in angiosperms because with the formation of seed, you have also ensured some nutrient source for the seed. This nutrient source helps in the development and growth of the seed and maximizes their reproductive success. After fertilization, seeds are formed from the embryo in the ovule. There is also endosperm, which we just talked about, formed by the fusion of one sperm with two polar nuclei. It's a triploid structure and it provides nutrient to the growing embryo. The ovary matures to form the fruit. Here, this ovary will mature to form the outer fruit, and there will be seeds which are the developing embryo inside this fruit. The fruit helps in seed dispersal because the animals eat the fruit and defecate the seeds at different places, or sometimes they are also spread through wind or water, thereby enhancing the plant's reproductive success. There are different kinds of fruits in the angiosperm plants. First kind are simple fruits, which develop from a single ovary of one flower. The examples are apple, cherries, or tomatoes. Aggregate fruits are formed from multiple ovaries in one flower, such as strawberries, blackberries, and raspberries. Multiple fruits are developed from the ovaries of multiple flowers that are closely packed. For example, pineapple and figs. Accessory fruits are not only limited to the ovary, but they have additional parts of the flower involved in the formation of fruit. For example, apples and strawberries. Now that we have gathered information about gymnosperms and angiosperms, let's see a contrast between them. In gymnosperms, the seeds are naked. They are not enclosed in a fruit, but they are enclosed in a fruit in the angiosperms. The gymnosperm have the reproductive structures in the form of cones, whereas in angiosperms they are in the form of flowers. Primarily, the pollination occurs through wind in gymnosperms, and it occurs through wind, water, and animals in angiosperms. There is single fertilization event in gymnosperms but double fertilization event in angiosperms. We have seen that the leaves of gymnosperms are usually needle-like or scale-like, whereas they are much broader and diverse in shape in angiosperms. In gymnosperms, tracheids are the main water transport system, whereas this system is much more elaborate in angiosperms. In both angiosperms and gymnosperms, the dominant life phase is the sporophyte, which is a diploid structure. Gymnosperms are mainly present in temperate regions, whereas the angiosperms are found all over the world. And angiosperms are much more diverse and they have more species under this group of plants than the gymnosperms. Let's have a quick look at the importance of angiosperms in the ecosystem. Angiosperms are the primary producers. They are usually present at the base of a food chain and they are primary source of food for the herbivore animals. They create several kinds of habitats for insects, birds, and mammals. They are also important for the health of soil because they have elaborate root system. They hold the soil and prevents soil erosion. They also fix environmental carbon dioxide and produce oxygen in the process of photosynthesis. They maintain the biodiversity and sustain various life forms. Angiosperms are not only a rich source of food, they are also a rich source of medicine. For example, from the willow bark we obtain aspirin, and from cinchona bark we obtain quinine medicines. They are also a source of textile and fiber. They also give us timber for construction material. They are ornamental. They are used in horticulture, floriculture, and in landscaping, and they are also a rich source of biofuel. For example, corn and sugarcane are used in ethanol production, which are used as a renewable energy resource. Angiosperms display several adaptations, which has made them capable of having so much diversity and being able to present in all the diverse environmental conditions. So let's look at the structural adaptations of angiosperms. Angiosperms can have broad leaves for maximizing the absorption of light for photosynthesis, or they can be needle-like for reducing the loss of water. They can also be in the form of thorns or spines to prevent herbivorous animals from eating them up. The reproductive adaptations involve the presence of bright flowers which attracts pollinators like insects and birds, and the spread of seeds through seed dispersal. For this purpose, they may have fruits which the animals eat, and in that process they also disperse the seeds. The seeds can also have wings or hook which help them in dispersal through wind and water. Angiosperms are also adapted for harsh environmental conditions, for example, drought conditions, by the presence of thick cuticles, deep roots that help in conserving water. They may also have succulent form, that is a method of storing water inside their plant structure. They are also adapted to the cold environment because they can undergo winter dormancy, and frost resistant leaves also help them in conditions which are very cold. Angiosperms can also produce some toxins or bitter compounds which prevent the herbivore animals from eating them up. The life cycle of angiosperm starts with a seed. A seed germinates to form the whole plant. The plants have elaborate leaf, shoot, and root system, and plants also have flowers, which are the main reproductive organs. Then, through the process of pollination, the pollen is transferred to the female organ for fertilization. The fertilization is a double fertilization in which one sperm fuses with the ovule to form zygote, while the other forms the endosperm. The endosperm forms the fruit and zygote forms the seed. So again, this structure is back to forming the seeds which enter into the next cycle of plant growth. Angiosperms have significant impact on maintaining the environmental temperature. They are also a significant player in sequestering carbon dioxide from the environment and converting them into oxygen. But with the climate change, the angiosperms are moving closer to cooler and wetter regions. The climate change also disrupts the flowering pattern of these plants, that makes a problem in the timing of pollinators and the time of pollination. With the climate change, the angiosperms also have to face environmental conditions such as drought, heat, and extreme weather, which either makes them to adapt or decline. The conservation process and attempts are mainly focused at protecting the diversity of angiosperms for ecosystem resilience. So, what are the major threats to the angiosperms? The major threats are the habitat loss because of urbanization, agriculture, and deforestation. The climate change is another problem that these plants face. The invasive species which are new to a certain environment or to a certain ecosystem, that brings pests with them, and over harvesting, which is done for obtaining medicines and ornaments from these plants. The conservation strategies for angiosperm preservation should include protecting the areas like forest areas by establishing reserves or national parks, by creating seed banks for saving the seeds of rare and endangered species, for reforestation by growing more plants and creating new forests, and by sustainable harvesting. These conservation attempts are important for maintaining the ecosystem stability and biodiversity, for preserving valuable resources for food, medicine, and ecological services, and for ensuring resilience to environmental changes. The current research on angiosperm is focusing on sequencing the genome of several angiosperms for studying the effect of climate and adaptation of these plants to severe environmental conditions, for studying the interaction between pollen and pollinators, for exploring the medicinal properties of angiosperms, and the use of genetic editing to develop improved crops which have high nutrition value and more pest resistance. The main takeaway from today's lectures are that the angiosperms are diverse flowering plant with unique adaptations. They are vital for ecosystem as they are primary producers and support biodiversity and provide oxygen. Economically, they are essential as a source of food, medicine, textile, and other industrial products. The understanding of angiosperms help in addressing challenges like climate change, conservation of biodiversity, and to improve crop resilience.